having blank by suggesting he would be the first to be his friend, then mentor, and finally would want to have blank with him. Charles asserted he prefers to lick the boy's entire body rather than blanking him, and engaged in both having and receiving oral blank. Charles follows up by sending CP, and he indicated in 100% smooth sailing. A single NAS alone is not a backup solution, especially if it's the only place I have my precious files on, because if this NAS decides to crap out on me, all of my data would be lost, and I would probably be crying on the floor about my life's work. For that, you'd want to follow the 3-2-1 rule of data backup, having 3 different copies across 2 different types of devices, and 1 copy stored offsite. Also, for my YouTube video editing, I thought running a bunch of hard drives together in the NAS would get me close to the 10 gigabit speeds I want in the NAS, and so I bought smaller 4 to 6 terabyte drives. And I'll be honest, it's more than plenty enough space for me, but they've taken up most of my drive bays with little room for future expansion.
On raid forums per records obtained by the FBI in that investigation. I mean, come on, dude. Don't you think even the dumbest FBI agent on the planet can figure out that 2 different accounts being accessed less than a day apart from the same VPN server belongs to the same person? You see?
क्या आप वीडियो एडिटिंग सीख के इस
You see, this is how people get caught. The feds rarely end up using these advanced techniques like backdoored applications or backdoored CPUs or any of that crazy stuff that you hear people talking about the 3-letter agencies being able to do. It's always the low-hanging fruit that seems to get these guys caught up. And I find it really funny how hackers, people that you would think know more about OPSEC than any other criminal under the sun, are making the same kind of dumb mistakes that these gangsters in the Bronx that got RICO'd were making. Basically, these guys that I was just watching this Trap Geek video about were killing their ops, getting seen on camera because there's more cameras in New York than there are streetlights, and then they would brag about the murders on Instagram Live, and that same person would later on be featured in a music video that millions of people watch, talking about killing their ops. And I think in one of the cases, this dude was wearing a pair of unreleased Jordans, he killed a dude, and then later on he's in an Instagram Live wearing that same pair of unreleased Jordans. And of course, they're gonna see on camera. There's more cameras in New York than there are streetlights. I mean, there's comedy bits about how dumb these street kids are when it comes to their OPSEC. And they're both from New York. Pom Pom Purin's from like Pesquill, New York or something like that. And obviously these kids are from the Bronx. And despite being from New York, it seems like neither one of them have heard of Biggie's 10 Crack Commandments, basically an OPSEC guide for selling rocks. But the way I see it, if Pom had followed Rule 7 and kept his real life and business completely separated, maybe get a different phone for all of his Hackerman activities, and if he wouldn't have pulled this dumb stunt in his DMs where he's like, oh yeah, Connor Fitzpatrick 02 is totally not my real email. If he hadn't done that, then Pom probably would not be sitting with the feds right now.
One of the DC healthcare exchanges had their information breached. So here's the thing. I don't think law enforcement agencies really care about the average person, but the moment you start messing around with big-time elites and politicians is the moment when the actual, the claws come out, and if the FBI seems like they ever are sitting on something and wasting their time, they will definitely show the full apparatus of their entire operation the moment you start going after some really powerful individuals. And this is where Washington, D.C., one of the guys and gals, me, Mutahar, playing video games underneath Linux is like being in a terrible relationship. One day things are swimming, they're great, you're talking about getting married. The next day your testicles have been snipped clean off in the middle of the night, okay? Not something you want to go through, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, this morning I woke...
लोगों के बीच ऐसे रहिए जैसे 32 दांतों के बीच जीभ रहती है। टच में सभी के रहना है, लेकिन दबना किसी से नहीं।
Yes, Blair. I want you to be perfect, right?
Yes, but what about the cost?
Oh, Blair, that's where I can help. See, you don't drink a lot, do you, Blair?
No, not really.
Okay.
Dr. Liu, I'm confused.
Oh, Blair, I have to confess, I haven't always been in the reconstructive side of surgery. Not like any medical student smothered by the suffocating blanket of debt, I found that I had to do some unsavory side work, if you will. Yeah, and sacrifices, so I could open my lovely practice. Sacrifices for the dream. And, there's no discreet way to say this. In exchange for a few non-essential organs, we could cover the entire costs.
My organs?
Oh, non-essential, of course. Kidneys, for example, or liver.
Isn't this illegal?
A little on the gray side. Blair, as long as everyone gets what they want, does it really matter?
Everything paid for?
And then some. I just want you to be perfect, right? You're not getting cold feet, are we, Blair?
Can I use the bathroom?
Of course. Just down the hall, to your right.
Which might not be the best idea. You see, a while back, I found out that you can purchase pretty much any car you want for a fraction of its usual price if you go through an insurance auction. There's only one catch. You have to fix it.
This is a really affordable way to buy some of the coolest cars ever made, but I don't have enough money to buy even a wrecked supercar.
So we're gonna start off this experiment with something more in my price range.
This piece of garbage.
But that doesn't mean it's gonna be any less work. Getting this thing back on the road and 100% operational took multiple months. There were so many things wrong with it, and I was all but forced to get creative with some repairs. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because
The first step to fixing any wrecked car is finding one to fix.
there's a bunch of different insurance auction websites out there, but the one I went with is called Copart, and it didn't take long for me to find this, a 2007 Hyundai Tiburon. Now, these aren't necessarily the most revered cars out there,
But Tiburon is actually what my first car was back when I was 16.
When he did this. For example, a man once lived a moderate life, but exaggerated his war on dust. He thought that he could defeat his dust forever by vacuum packing his house so that no dust could get in. When he did this, however, a man died because he couldn't breathe.
So, can dust ever be defeated forever?
No. It can only be fought because no one knows where it comes from. And so no one knows how to stop it. Which is why we will always live in a dusty world.
Well, all right then. If you were my daughter, I wouldn't want y'all looking, someone like him. Really can't trust boys that age. Only got one thing on their minds.